Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hammer's Chat and welcome to Talking a Game where it has just finished Burnley 0, West Ham United 0 in what can only be described as an away fixture at Burnley. Gio and Gonzo, of course, not available today. Gio was at the game, so it could be worse. You could be Gio, and it's Gonzo's obviously got family stuff, so couldn't make it. So you've got myself and Ray repping the Hammer's Chat merch. In unison, the opposite shades, to talk about what was a game that won't be first on Match of the Day, Ray.
No, definitely not. And I feel like we've been stitched up by Gio and Conto to be like, what's the worst possible game we could let them two crazy gang do?
Yeah,
We're like the youth team being called up, aren't we?
Yes.
So the game that doesn't matter.
The game that doesn't matter. The game that doesn't, yeah, very much so. Very much so. I remember when we did early on in Hammer's Chat where we did a live review from Upton Park. Well, not live. We did a review from the pitch at Upton Park. We were on the bench at Upton Park, and we were all excited. We're like, "Oh my god, we're gonna get to go to Upton Park. We're gonna get to be on the pitch." Blah 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 blah. It was a 0-0 draw against Stoke, so it's similar vibes. We won't go through the game beat by beat because it's a 0-0 draw with Burnley. I don't know what you want from us. There's no goals to even talk about, but there's a couple of at least some incidents. And Ray, I think the first 10 minutes, I think we're fair to say, were mostly Burnley.
Yeah, first 10 minutes, completely Burnley, and maybe that's how they thought they could attack us and try and break us down, as in, because we are known to start off a little bit slower than most teams. So go straight at us for the first 10 minutes. Do you know what? At the whole game, I weren't, apart from one or two chances near the end, I weren't worried about Burnley at all. I didn't think they had nothing to scare us, apart from set plays, as I said at half time, because set plays, it's put the ball in a mixer and you don't know who's going to get the last head on it. So yeah, they were a bit attacking, a bit more aggressive in the first 10 minutes, and then we started controlling the game. And I thought for the first half and the later parts, we controlled it. I don't remember too many clear-cut chances for us either. Just that we must have had more possession in the first half. After that, I could see a lot of things okay, but today I feel like we had 2 points lost, and we kind of like missed the opportunity to put a bit of space between us and Arsenal and Man United and Spurs, who've got a couple of games in hand. We're just not taking that, and that's what's going to let us down unless we get some reinforcements in January. So keep saying.
Yeah, I think the opening 10 minutes shows that problem to some extent. It's that idea of like, well, this is a team who are struggling, who are down the bottom, who we know exactly how they're going to play as well. It's not like we're going to come to Burnley and they're going to throw a curveball at us and come tiki-taka or Jurgen Klopp heavy metal football. No, we know what they're going to do. They're going to sit deep. They're going to defend tight. They're going to come for it. They're going to fight for it, but they're not going to exactly make anything super difficult. And so for the idea of like, for a game you could prep for and get what should be a relatively not easy win, but a comfortable win, an achievable win. You're not going to get many more than this specifically. And so for us to have that opening 10 minutes where we start slowly, which is becoming a bit of a trend for us to some extent, a bit concerning trend for us, is frustrating and could be, like you say, the difference between a big dub and not. But then we seemed to turn it around pretty quickly and started to actually chase them and put some pressure on them. And the next, up until Nick Pope got booted in the face by Craig Dawson, who adds another name to his hit list, like Mr. McMahon in the Arse Club. I felt like it was all us, and I felt like all of a sudden we looked alive.
Yeah, I'll totally agree with that. And I was thinking, maybe it's just that the Lingard effect where we just didn't have that something extra. And this is the times that you need players like Benrahma to come up with that extra key to unlock the lock of the Burnley defence. Because I don't think the Burnley defence was that fantastic today. I just don't think we had just quite enough just to get past their back four and Nick Pope. And there was a couple of chances in the second half, which I'm sure we'll get onto that we had, but like in the first half, it was just that little bit, last ball, that last little touch, that last bit of magic in the first half that we just didn't unlock, unfortunately.
And the final thing to talk about in that first half, I feel like, was the penalty shout. We touched on it briefly at halftime during the watch along, which of course Ray came and helped me with as well. So again, everyone say very nice things about Ray, please. For you, was it a penalty or not?
Yes, because it was West Ham, but like, no, I can see why it wasn't given. He wasn't in control of the ball at the time. I would like to know the official rules on that one though, because he did kick him, and is it classed as dangerous play? If that wasn't in the penalty, would we have got a free kick? Maybe.
It's a fair point. That's a fair point. Something else that's fair is, of course, what this is sponsored by, which is the WHUFC app. And if you wanna find out about all the scores and everything else that are kicking off, I think you should check it out. Right, it's on your phone. It's this thing, right? It gives you all the notifications live. So when we did the build-up show, for example, you're like, oh, where did Charlie get the lineups from? Bang. One football app. It comes at your phone. It's a beautiful thing. It combines social media with football in a sense where you just have to follow and find out about the things you like. Ray, do you want to hear about Harry Kane?
Go on then. No, don't. Not at all.
Exactly. See, the second Ray, for a second, Ray was like, yeah, I'll listen to Harry Kane. And then he went, actually, no, I don't want to hear about Harry Kane. And you don't have to. If you have the One Football app, you just follow the things you like West Ham. You don't have to hear about any of that other nonsense. So thank you very much to the One Football app for sponsoring us and for supporting the channel. Because especially at this time of the year, very nice of them, very kind of them. But yeah, I didn't think it was a pen. It's one of those ones where you look at it and you say, well, sure, you can. I've seen them given. He doesn't get any of the ball. He takes a swing at it. He takes a very mild swing at the player. I can't say that it's. I can't say that if it was given, I would be sitting here going, oh well, they've been really hard done by there, because they wouldn't have been. He makes contact with the player, whatever. But ultimately, was it a penalty? Not really. Not for me. I thought it was a bit light. And we get to the halftime whistle, Ray. And again, we spoke, but sort of for the people who don't watch along, which is fair enough, although come watch them. We do them every single match day, people. What are you doing? What was your thoughts at halftime?
Yeah, my thoughts halftime was, okay, I can see us. We've got back into the game. We've definitely got enough in us to get that goal to get the lead. But I thought, as I said to the chat, I was a bit disappointed with Tarkowski. If we're linked with him, I didn't rate him that much today.
Yeah.
I was kind of, I wanted to see something to say, right, Moyes, you need to go out and get him. And, there was nothing there. And that's what I said about the Burnley defence. I felt like they were there to get out of. They weren't that strong enough. So, all in all, I was quite happy because I thought we was going to do a lot more in the second half. But apart from that, no.
Yeah, same. I feel like we were on top of it, but at the same time, there wasn't much. Like the period of possession we had up until Nick Pope met Craig Dawson's foot. I was happy with that. I was like, okay, there we are. We're doing what I thought we should do. Get the ball on the floor, passing quickly in and around the 6, in and around the sort of the area, the D, getting it in the number 10 positions, playing it around that sort of space. But then the rest of the time, we sort of quite lackadaisical. We were going back to what our natural thing to do, and having a natural passage of play isn't a bad thing. It was something we lacked under Pellegrini, for example. Pellegrini never got to the stage where we had a natural passage of play. We would just play the ball up to the final third, and then we'd pass it around aimlessly until something happened. And what we were doing today is we were reverting to our type of, right, we're getting the ball out wide, we're crossing it in. And the thing is about doing that against Burnley, that's their entire deal, man. They're big, burly blokes. They're not going to be like Tarkowski, Ben Mee. They're going to look at you crossing the ball and go, all right. Like, it's when people do it against us, and I'm like, what are you trying to do? We've got Dawson, we've got Zuma, we've got Deal, we've got all these gigantic geezers, and you're trying to cross the ball in, that's going to be effective. Like, no, it's not going to happen. And I think that sort of revert to type was somewhat disappointing, because you're like, I feel like if we were doing what we were doing in that period, we could really make them punish. People in the live chat that watch along were going, I feel like a goal is coming here because we were really knocking on the door and we sort of let that go. And the second half came out, and I felt like there's not many incidents in the first half really, in the second half to really talk about. There was half chances here and there, and headers and whatnot. Late on, Burnley got a lot of opportunities, but for me, I looked at that second half and it was sort of very much like that. It was us sort of reverting to type, trying to cross the ball in, just doing what we naturally would do, which is fine. That's not a bad thing whatsoever. But today, specifically in that instance, it was there, and I just felt like there was something lacking. And it just, I mean, a 0-0 draw suggests there was, but there just was something missing from us that we didn't quite have that spark that we've always had, and I don't quite know what to put it down to.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you could see in the second half, Rice stepped up a level, and no one else around him stepped up with him, and that is probably where we lacked his. Rice come out of the second half, stepped up. Everyone stayed the same. No, maybe Antonio stepped back a little bit for me, but no one else really pushed themselves anymore or any further. Look at the runs that he was doing, and then you could see that Antonio was getting in the way. That was the space that he wanted to run into, and then as he crossed it in along the floor, no one on the end of it, no one slided in. It seemed like Rice was his intelligence, his world classness, so to speak, was up there, and no one was on the same wavelength as him at that time. So I was kind of very disappointed with that.
Yeah, I think Antonio was better in the second half than he was in the first, but it wasn't like you say, like Rice was playing. It's like if Antonio went from here to here, Rice went from here to here, if you know what I mean. So it wasn't like there was a massive discrepancy there. I think Antonio stepped up a bit, and we saw that he started to make a nuisance of himself. There was that one time I'm remembering vividly where he comes down the right hand side on a counter attack, and his initial ball in was so lazy. He tries to cross it in, and Ben Mee almost doesn't have to move, just almost looks at him as if to go, "What are you? What? Why?" And it comes back to him, and then he takes on Ben Mee for pace. He goes, "No, I'm going to take the ball past you now." And all of a sudden, you're like, "Whoa, there's the Antonio we need." He just picks up the ball, takes it past him with relative ease, and it's something he should have been doing more often. But we just kept just butting our head against this wall, and it's like you say, I think Declan Rice, and we'll talk more about him when we get to individual performances, because I suspect we'll both have a lot to say about him at the end. But it's one of those ones where you're just like, it's frustrating. I mean, when we lined up before the game, we were talking about, is this going to be a back five? Is it going to be a back four? And I felt like we lined up correctly, ultimately. I mean, we'll skip to the end now, I guess, because like I said, there's not huge amounts of opportunities. Bowen has a decent shot that's saved by Nick Pope at the end. It becomes basically just Burnley getting incredibly close in the final stages, but we'll skip to the end. It does end 0-0. I felt like the selections were probably by and large correct. You could make an argument for Pablo Fornal starting, but outside of that, I felt like we lined up right, Ray. It was maybe, I don't know, is it just one of those days, or do you put it down to something more deeper?
No, I think we lined up with the best options that we possibly had, and I feel like it's, with the substitutions, I don't want to call them lazy, but they were just light for lights and nothing special, and nothing creative or different. Fornals is a great player, but we know what he's going to do when he comes on. Why don't we look at Krau a bit more? Why don't we put in the big three in midfield, Rice, Krau, and Souček? Maybe that will give us a better option on set plays, because our corners were terrible today, as I said to you earlier. And that's another large boy that we could stick in the middle and see what he's got, because we're not seeing enough of Krau to know whether we're going to keep him at the end of the season. Maybe that's by choice of Moyes to say, nah, he's not right for us. Sorry, go on. What was you
No. It's such a difficult game to review, let alone to judge people on. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I always find, and this is maybe a bit meta conversation for this, but I always find it's very easy to do reviews and reactions and stuff and and what we do on YouTube to wins or to losses.
Yeah.
And especially, and even heated draws. A boring 0-0 away to Burnley is maybe the most difficult game. And I think, again, trying not to judge people, like I say, I look at Antonio and I go, well, I think Antonio stepped up a bit in the second half. I think, this player did a bit here and a bit there. I thought Bowen defended well. I thought he got forward okay. But I don't know. Like, there's a lot of things there that we could take away. But it's almost like a preseason game in a sense, where you look at it and you go, well, I don't really know what we can draw conclusion-wise from it. You know what I mean? I don't really know what we can draw conclusion-wise from it. What were you going to go on to there, by the way, when I interrupted you?
I was going to say, do you think because the substitutions were so like for like, do you think, as you predicted, the 69th minute and 30 seconds, do you think that the sub come at the right choice? Because I felt like we was in control. I thought Benrahma could have done a bit more, maybe gave an extra 5 minutes, maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
Moyes at the moment has tended to make the substitutions after the opposition have finished theirs. So the opposition will complete all of their substitutions. They'll have all three, and then Moyes starts to act. And I think he has the luxury of having a good enough team and a well-drilled enough team to where you sort of can get away with doing that most of the time, because you're not going to be decimated. You're not going to be struggling too much, and then you lob some big boys on, and then you get going, and then it happens, right? Like you say, today I felt like it was very like for like. I felt like it was very the timing. I don't know. I think you can make arguments either way. I think you could say it was the right time. I think you could equally say he should have done it earlier. There were some people in the live chat who were like, the subs came too late. We should have done it earlier. And I think when you're being less reactive than Sean Dyche's Burnley to subs, I think you can maybe argue there's a bit of an issue. And again, I don't know how much I believe that to some extent, but I do think it was kind of wild that Sean Dyche was the one going, right, we're going to do this, we're going to try to do this, we're going to try to do that. And don't get me wrong, their style didn't change, but certainly there were some elements that were changing up in the game, whereas we were sort of like, let's just stay headstrong. I was interested to see Vlasic come on first. That was something I was very interested in, because I was like, oh, okay. And then also he doesn't, did he make 3 substitutions? I don't think he did. I don't remember the third. I don't know what you could change, but another one of those things maybe where you say January is where we need to find the people that are going to change it, because I don't know how many of those, like we said at the beginning of the game, were going to be game changers. We literally called it out and they turned to pass a little bit. Let's move on to individual performances. And I want to start. We'll go. We'll save the man and match, and I think both of us are going to pick the same person. I very much suspect, from a West Ham perspective, I think we'll both pick the same person. And I want to pick out just a few individuals, because I think there's some people worth having conversations about for future reference. And the first one is after Masuaku. How do you feel like he played?
I thought he was quite good, to be fair. I thought he played a lot better. And he grew into the game. I was worried near the beginning of the game on a couple of occasions. I felt like sometimes he was doing too much, but then as the game come on, I felt like it was getting into his stride, and I think that was a perfect game for him to play in, because like they weren't really attacking down that side that much.
Yeah,
so he didn't have to defend as much, but he was getting forward good. He was getting trickeries near the top end of the pitch. So I actually thought he'd done all right, to be fair.
Yeah, I thought he had a decent game as well. I thought he was a bright spot in the game. I thought defensively, I don't think he had much to do, I think would be fair to say. It wasn't like they were all over him. A lot of their attacking play would come via McNeil, who's obviously on the left side. And so he didn't have too much to do. Well, McNeil to switch over to the right side in the second half, but I felt by and large defensively he was quite quiet, although there were 1 or 2 decent tackles. And again, there's that thing where it's the thing I've said always about Masuaku, and I think most people do. But even when he is deep in defense like that, there was 1 or 2 times where he was under pressure and he would just drift past his player. Like they literally weren't even there. There was one where he had 2 people around him and he literally just taps it through the middle and runs around, grabs it, and carries on going from the other side. And you're like, Oh my god! And that's that little thing that, and it's I don't want to. I'm not trying to diss Aaron Cresswell here for not having pace because that's a harsh thing to say. But that pace and touch of trickery that Masuaku has does lend something different. And again, in a game like today, I was fine with him starting. I don't know how much that increases his chancing of future things or even staying or whatever if you want to look further down the line. But certainly while Aaron Cresswell's out, I thought it was an accomplished performance to some extent. The other one in defense I wanted to talk about was Dawson Diop, sort of as a partnership, as a combined pair, because obviously this is the first time we're seeing them really properly since all of the injuries have happened, and it's going to look like that's going to be the partnership further forward. What do you think about their performances today?
Diop, I thought was quite solid. I didn't think he had any issues. There was that last chance near the end for Burnley, which was with Dawson, and it went through his legs, and that could have been quite a bit of an issue. But apart from that, I don't think they had too much. They weren't really tested. But I felt Diop was more in control than Dawson, if that makes sense.
I do. Yeah, I thought Diop put in a really accomplished performance. Looked good passing wise as well, distribution wise. I thought he looked dominant. He looked dominant tackling wise. He was always in good positions. There was even one or two times after corners where he'd stay forward and get involved in build-up play. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you had it in you, Issa. I didn't know you had it in you. I thought you played all right. And I think Dawson played well as well. Put his foot through someone's head, always a good thing. Should say, don't kick people in the head. Unless you're Craig Dawson. But yeah, no, I thought Craig Dawson had a decent game. Like you say, not the biggest test in the world. I think midweek against Arsenal, we'll see a bigger test of him, but certainly not one that's going to make me too... I'm not more fearful than I was before. Perfect opposition for them to play to some extent, but I'm not too fearful. And then the other main one I wanted to talk about really was Lanzini.
Yeah, just on Dawson as well. I just feel like there's a mistake in him. And so
that's fair.
I would like to see when Zuma's back, him and Diop. I really want to see that. I want to see that blossom, and I can see that being a good two. Maybe not. Do we need to buy anyone? Because I'm kind of worried that Diop's going to be dropped back first before Dawson.
Yeah,
which I don't necessarily agree with.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think out of the two, if one's going to get dropped, it probably would be Diop at the end of the day. And I would disagree with that as well, because I think they need to. I think they need to be. I don't know. I just think Diop needs to be included more and more often. He's the younger. He's the future. He's the one that has a sellable. If you want to talk about it realistically as well, he's the sellable one. If you sell Dawson after his best season ever, you get 5 mil for him. If you sell Diop after his best season ever, you get 60 million for him. You know what I mean? It's that kind of difference. And I think we have more to get from Diop. So I would agree with that. Any other individual before we move on to, I just say, if you wanted to speak about anyone else, you can, and then we'll talk about final thoughts and the man of the match specifically as well at the end, was Lanzini. How do you feel? It was a big opportunity for him coming in, starting in the Premier League. There's been a lot of talk about him getting there. You love Lanzini. I love a bit of Lanzini. How do you feel like he fared up?
I thought he did all right, to be honest. But again, I thought it was just that last little bit that we just missed on. But I was quite happy with Lanzini. I didn't have any issues. I know, would you bought 4 nails on Sunil? No, I was quite happy to see Lanzini out on the pitch. I thought if anything was going to happen, it would win from Lanzini. So yeah,
he created well. He got in and around the area well. He created in and around the area well. I think the times where he was allowed the ball in the areas he wants the ball, I think he did well. That wasn't often enough, but that's not necessarily his fault. I wanted to see us dominate a bit more with him in a sort of in the side. I felt like we could see it a bit more, but yeah, I think when he got the ball, I don't think he had a bad game whatsoever. And there was a couple of shots where you're like, okay, if on a different day those are going in, I felt he was all right. So apart from your man of the match, was there anyone else particularly you wanted to talk about? And
I thought Bowen did himself proud again. I thought his work rate with Southgate there, he's got to be looking at him going, okay. There's just Maybe he just needs that little special something, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But it's just missing at the moment. I can't put my finger on it, but I thought Bowen did well.
Yeah, he was the one I was going to pick out as well. I think Bowen had a decent game. I thought he defended really well. I thought he got back really well. I thought his passing was a little bit wayward today, but he did always get in and around the area and cause problems. I think out of everyone on the pitch, he was probably the most likely to score for West Ham. I felt like he had a good game, a positive game, and another one towards, if this new contract thing is happening, another opportunity for him to put his name down and go, look, I'm still the most consistent performer in this team. And he has been all season. And so last question, Ray, final thoughts, and can I get your man of the match, please?
Final thoughts is these are the games that we're going to need to find another key to open the lock, because we need to get them points if we want top 4 aspirations. And maybe it's still too soon for us to get into that top 4 Champions League. We're doing okay as we are, but let's hope January comes round and let's see what we can pull out of the bag. My man of the match, Declan Rice. Obviously, I don't think I was going to try and make a joke and pick someone else, but I don't really think he could pick anyone else. The guys have stepped up another level. I'm worried we're going to lose him, and maybe on a free, because he's going to run his contract down, and that worries me.
We'll see about that, and we'll probably discuss it many times on Two Spanners One Hammer, which is of course the Hammers Chat Patreon exclusive podcast made just for you. You could be a guest on if you come over board to patreon.com/Hammers Chat and come on Mine and Brace podcast over there. Two Spanners One Hammer. Yeah, he was man of the match by safe distance. I felt like he did a bit of everything. He got forward really well. He was getting involved in very advanced areas and doing well, putting in crosses and passes which were very close to goals. That's good crosses, good high quality crosses, good XA on those, good expected assists on those. And then he also defended really well. There were a couple of times where he was the last man back and he was defending really well. I thought he had an all action game. As you know, I'm someone who I don't go on about Rice like everyone else does. I certainly am a little bit more reserved on him, and even I was like, yeah, this guy's man match by such a clear way. And it's just a game where maybe a little bit of magic could have got it. If there was a little bit of stardust from someone, like I can see Nick M in the chat there saying we don't have a Canny or Pyatt right now. One of those kind of players just come in and slap it down on the table and go, "This is ours." But again, as much as we need wins from these kind of games, and we do if we're to maintain our form of trying to get a European football for a second season, getting a 0-0 draw away is not the end of the world. When we're clearly not playing very well. You look at it, and if you were doing player ratings, which we will of course again have on patreon.com/hammerschat, Gio will be doing the player ratings probably tomorrow at this point. So make sure to come by and check that out. There's not exactly going to be many over 6s. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a very middle of the road type of player ratings. And if we're still getting a 0-0 draw away, that's not the end of the world. We'll still get something from it, but still. And you can still get something more from us if you want. Just subscribe, like the video, all of that good stuff. Like I said, patreon.com/hammerschat. Gio will have his player ratings up later on or tomorrow. I'm not sure when he has gone to the game, so depends when he gets back. But that will be something you can definitely check out. And then we'll have lots of other videos coming in the meantime. So make sure to keep coming back. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of them as we go midweek onto Arsenal. Ray, just very quickly, just give me a cheeky score prediction for Arsenal. That's all I need. Just what are you vibing?
2-1.
Oh, love that, ladies and gentlemen. You can come back and watch our preview for that. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here, like the video if you enjoyed it, and until next time, come on, you irons, and we'll see you then. Bye, everyone.
Bye.